Hi there! There are a lot of well-known facts about the animal world, such as fish can live only in the water, or no one can be immortal. But now I'm going to tell you about the creatures that have broken the laws of nature by their existence. Let's go! Wombats and their square poo. Have you ever heard about wombats, adorable Australian animals? Apart from being a marsupial, a wombat has an amazing ability to produce cube-shaped poo, and they're the only animal that can do it. Wombats pass up to 100 deposits of poop a night, and they use their piles to mark territory. The scientists found out how they do manage to create poos of such a shape. No, the guys don't have a square anus, but the wombat intestines, however, have a much more irregular shape compared to other animals. They have distinct ravine-like grooves where the intestine is stretchier. As scientists think, it helps to shape wombat feces into cubic scat. Fish spend 90% of their time walking on land. Fish, called mud skippers, have spent so much time out of the water that they've adapted to move, breathe, and see on land. Mud skippers have obtained special shoulder joints and pectoral fins. This upgrade lets these fish walk, jump, swim, and even climb on trees. As a result, mud skippers are able to leap as high as 2 feet into the air. Just imagine the fish that behave in this way. Such evolutionary changes give them a lot of benefits. As the fish moves across the muddy surface, it has much more food than other water inhabitants. Besides, mud skippers are actually the only known fish that can blink. So much unusual stuff for a little olive brown fish, don't you agree? Extremely clever cuttlefish. This is a cuttlefish, and it's a mollusk. But in spite of this fact, it turned out to be much smarter than people could imagine. A new study showed these creatures can be as good at controlling their urges as animals as chimpanzees, and even crows. Scientists put 6 cuttlefish in conditions that would test whether they could delay gratification for a bigger reward. The cuttlefish were given either a piece of king shrimp or a more appealing live grass shrimp. If they decided not to take the piece of dead shrimp immediately, they would be offering more appealing live shrimp after a delay, and the cuttlefish in the test preferred the live shrimp. The most impressive thing about it was the cuttlefish with the most self-control could wait for over 2 minutes for a better snack. The immortal jellyfish. While people have been in search of eternal life for centuries, the secret of immortality may have been floating in the ocean this whole time. Meet the jellyfish Turritopsis dohrnii. These small, transparent animals hang out in oceans around the world, and they can turn back time by reverting to an earlier stage of their life cycle. Any new jellyfish life begins with a fertilized egg. Then it grows into a larval stage called a planula. And then planula latches onto a surface where it develops into a polyp. The polyps will form an outgrowth called a bud and then break away from the rest of the colony. The next stages of the jellyfish life cycle are the apharia, a small jellyfish, and the medusa. For the majority of jellyfish, it's the end of the line, but not for Turritopsis dohrnii. When it faces some kind of environmental stress, like starvation or injury, it again changes back into the immature polyp phase of life. What a tricky creature. Dolphins are able almost not to sleep. Have you ever tried not to sleep for a significant period of time? If yes, I'm sure you felt terrible. But dolphins pay almost no attention to the lack of sleep. One of the latest researches showed that they stay constantly alert for at least 15 days in a row. Besides, they sleep with only half of their brains at a time. It means that they never sleep completely. As scientists think, this technique evolved to allow dolphins to breathe at the surface of water, even when snoozing. The larva with an active sexual life. Just look at this cute guy. His name is an axolotl, and he is just at a larval stage of the Urodel amphibia, ambystoma. The most interesting fact about this creature is that he can reproduce without growing up. It's a kind of salamander that remains in a juvenile state their entire life. Besides, axolotls attain sexual maturity just in the outward form of a juvenile. This ability gives them several advantages. Their immune systems are stronger and they heal without scarring. They require less food and retain their adorable floofs, and axolotls can retain this form without morphing an adult salamander for a rather long period of time. They prefer doing it if they live in cold mountain streams and lakes without access to much iodine and with little food. But of course, axolotls do reach adulthood through regular aging. The only fish with warm blood. The main truth about fish is that they are cold-blooded. It means that most fish have body temperatures that match the surrounding water. But not this one. The opa looks like a big startled frisbee with thin red fins stuck on as an afterthought. It is a predator and it is warm-blooded. Although being not as warm as mammals and birds, the opa can circulate heated blood throughout its body, and it keeps consistently its entire body around 5 degrees Celsius warmer than its environment. And this unique feature gives the fish a competitive advantage in the cold ocean, as his usual habitat is in depths from 150 to 1300 feet below the surface. Now that's what I call breaking stereotypes. Cheetahs are almost clones of each other. Yes, they are, but why? Thanks to an ice age that began 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, 75% of all mammals in North America, Europe, and Australia suddenly went extinct. At that period, saber-toothed tigers disappeared. Cheetahs also nearly vanished. But a few managed to survive and carry on to the present-day species. As a result, the gene pool got reduced so much that modern-day cheetahs have about the same amount of genetic variation. It's a so-called population bottleneck. What unlucky guys. Dogs with inner watch. Of course, your dog may not look at the clock, but most dogs do know when it's dinner time or time to go for a walk. The secret is that they do it with the help of their noses. Do you know that smells in a room change as the day goes on? Hot air rises, and it usually rises in currents along the walls and will rise to the ceiling and go kind of to the center of the room and drop. For example, they're also able to determine how long ago his person was in there. The smell becomes less intense, and pups know how much time his human is absent. Chimpanzees adore drinking wine. The scientists found out that chimpanzees in Guinea regularly consumed naturally fermented alcohol in the wild. Chimps noticed local humans collecting the sap from the palm trees several times a day. And when they leave the tapped trees unattended, chimps just use the leaves that cover the containers to drink the sap instead. Some chimps drink as much as a bottle of the palm wine at a time. Drunk apes might monopolize a tree, having wine alone, or take turns dipping the leaf sponges in the containers. A carnivore that eats only vegetation. Everyone knows that pandas eat bamboo, but did you know that many of their closest relatives are carnivores? So how did the meat-eating ancestor of pandas become a vegetarian? The reason is the deactivation of an umami taste receptor gene. Umami is the taste that makes things like meat, soy sauce, and mushrooms extra yummy. Apparently, at some point in panda evolution, the umami receptor became non-functional. As scientists say, the switch to bamboo may have happened before the gene was lost. Now if only we can make chocolate less delicious. Cats don't have a sweet tooth. Yes, life is a little less sweet for cats. Their genes show that they lack functioning taste receptors for sugar. Scientists found out there is a broken gene. The problem is there are actually two parts of the sweet taste receptor that join to make the complete sweet taste receptor. And one of those, the gene, is broken. Because of that, cats can't get the complete receptor and can't taste sweet. Not only domestic cats, you know. Neither can lions, tigers, and other felines. Poor creatures, they aren't able to detect the delicious taste of chocolate. And do you really know some other creatures that deceive nature? If you do, write in the comments below about it. See you!